You done dicking with your computer there, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys ready to get started?
I'm just letting the files go.
I'm going to make a loud smack here so I can take the better quality audio that my computer records and then overdub it to the video later. So I'll tell you, that should show up real good on the timeline.
Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
That's loud as shit. Let's try that again. Turn that volume down. I haven't done a podcast in fucking a month.
Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Oh crap, wrong button. God damn it. Good thing we're not live anymore.
Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the
Your company name here.
studios in Cape Coral, Florida. It's the What's in Your Head podcast.
What's up, OG5? It's been a while, but that opener still cuts off like an old son of a bitch because I still haven't remade it. But don't worry, we got a lot of things we got to remake here in 2024. Holy shit, it's 2024. I can't believe I've been doing this podcast since 2018. And you know what? That's a long fucking time. It's been almost 6 years now. We're going in our 6th year. And I think it's about time we do a little format change up again, because if you guys listen to podcasts, which obviously you do, you've been here, the whole concept of a podcast having that radio show format has really gone to the wayside. It's more of a free form, hanging out, bullshitting type format seems to be the way things are going. So we're no longer going to do this live, even though that's kind of conducive to that format. But we're going to start pre-recording this, putting a little editing, a little value into it, so that if we end up discussing something at length, I can go back later and insert clips here and there so that the audience maybe who isn't aware of what we're talking about, we can catch them up to speed. But we'll bring all that on later. Joining us tonight, the man who's about to make the faithful leap into marriage coming up this weekend is Mike. What's going on, Mike?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Just living the dream, just working and not fishing because, well, for some reason we got into a wormhole, went into summertime here in Florida. The rain's insane. The lightning. My boss has a lightning app on his phone because we're hearing kaboom, kaboom, and like you couldn't even count 1/1000. By the way, Larry Venturina's back. Hi, Larry.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. Real quick, we couldn't even count the 1/1000, and he was looking like, yep, that one hit the stop sign down the street. Oh, that last one hit the canal right across. So like, lightning was bombarding our office today, but it's been. Rain finally stopped 2 hours ago. I was kind of concerned that I might have to cancel the podcast for fear that the internet might drop out, but here we are. Larry, congratulations, buddy. Things are going your way. Look at you, big moves. First and foremost, let's talk about the hustling and grinding, fella. Let's talk about the semi-newly formed Venturino Talent Agency. You finally decided to start representing some of the people you know, and you have a few big names on your newly acquired Rolodex that you're representing people. How did that come about?
Yeah, so basically, I've been booking punk bands and comedians and everything for like 25 years, and then I decided to make it more official and just make the agency an official, booking and talent agency. So Venturino Talent Agency was born. And so I started by kind of like getting some of the acts that I book around town or throughout the country a little bit that I have close personal friends with, to start on the roster. But then I'm already on to some bigger names as well, and some some comedy legends and people that I grew up with, and it's kind of cool to be able to reach out and help them get booked around the country.
And obviously, it's interesting, speaking of this format, something like that is something like a podcast. When you first start, you got to go to somebody and say, hey, come over here. Let me, in your case, represent you. In my case, let me interview you. And they're like, well, A, I've never heard of you, or I know you're a friend of mine. Once you start getting some recognized names on your Rolodex, or in this case, interviewing people on my podcast or What's the Scuttlebutt podcast. Once you get some of those bigger names coming, the people who may have been a little more reluctant to begin with, come on a little quicker.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So the thing is, like, people, you know, especially hopefully in Florida, you know, I've produced so many shows over the years, and I hope I have a decent reputation to, like, put on good shows, pay people, and give them, like, quality opportunities. So people know and can trust me that, you know, I was going to help them out. And so the people that kind of like latched on right away, I really appreciate them that they believed in me. There were some people that were a little bit reluctant, but like they didn't understand that, I've been doing this for a long time, but you know, the agency is kind of brand new officially, but you know, I was going to bust my butt to get some bigger names and to help everybody out. And so the people that didn't believe in me right off the bat, well, that opportunity is gone. And for whatever that's worth, I'm moving on to other things. So, I mean, I reached out to people who I felt could use my services, and, you know, most of them were very happy to hear from me and kind of, you know, appreciated that. There was a couple people who weren't really into it, or I could tell, because they thought they were at a different level. Well, you know, now it's kind of like, well, they're kind of on their own now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Am I bitter? Does that sound bitter?
No, I'm talking to a guy who's been doing podcasting for 6 years out of his fucking his bedroom and got nowhere, so no. You don't sound bitter at all. But, you know, to that being said, you know, some people have a hard time after they put in years. Maybe they don't put in the effort, but they put in the years, and one of the hardest things to do is to sit back, look in a mirror, assess the situation honestly, and go from there. And I think that is where we see a lot of people who quote unquote get triggered or offended on when it comes to things on the internet. Now, I'll give you the perfect example. Last 6 months or so, I've been trying to get back into running, especially after we went to Mike's bachelor weekend, and his buddy Ron, who hasn't seen me in like, I don't know, a year.
Yeah.
He saw me back when I was at the height of my running, doing savage races and all that, and he looked at me and said, "What the fuck happened to you? You got fat."
Wow.
About a month and a half prior to that, the guy at the UPS store where I filmed my TikTok video that went semi-viral at 1.7 million, where the UPS driver was yelling at the guy who locked his dog in the car. That used to be my go-to mailbox when at Computer Zone, because I couldn't have a bunch of expensive shit dropped off from my front door. So I was paying the outrageous $230 a year for a UPS box. I canceled that box because I don't need it anymore. But from time to time, I still ship out stuff for Digital 410. Walked into there. Now, this is before Ron saw me. Jeff said, "What the fuck happened to you? You got fat."
Oh, no.
And then I had another person essentially say the same thing. I'm like, okay, clearly with my new job, I've gained some weight. And so one of the things I decided to start working out and running, I've already ran 72 miles walked and ran 72 miles in the last 15 days. But that, to my point, I joined a Facebook group called Slow as Fuck Running. Because one of the reasons I stopped running is I got injured. And then as I got older, I started developing plantar fasciitis, so I can't run as fast as I used to. When at my prime, when I was like 37, I was down to 207 pounds. If I busted my ass running around my neighborhood, I think my record is a 7-minute mile. Now I'm at 15. But I say all that. There's people on there who are posting clips of their 10-minute miles or 12-minute miles or 7-minute miles or 8-minute miles. And there's other people on there saying, hey, this is called the Slow as Fuck Run group. You guys aren't slow runners. And they're getting offended. They're getting triggered because other people on this group who can run faster than them, that's making them look in the mirror. Back to our previous conversation. And they don't like the fact that we're on a group called Slow as Fuck Run Group, but there's people who run faster than them.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you got to remember, we're all here running our own run because that's what running is. You're running your own run and you're on your own journey. Yes, some people are new runners who can't run a 15-minute mile. They're still running 18 minutes, and they might see 15 minutes fast. But then you have old fucks like me who got injured, who put on 30 pounds and now has plantar fasciitis, where I used to be able to run an 9-minute mile leisurely. Now I'm at 15. So yes, 15 may seem fast to you, but in my journey, in my race, that is slow.
Yeah.
But why are you getting offended by my 15-minute mile? Well, that's because my 15-minute mile is making you look in the mirror and saying, here's this 45-year-old old guy with bad feet. And I'm 22 and he runs faster than me. And that makes people don't like to look in the mirror. They don't like to have that self-evaluation.
Yeah.
But I think if you talk to anybody who's truly successful, and I'm not, but people who truly are, self-evaluation and self-reflection is like a regular routine.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I at? Where do I want to be? How do I get there? And so back to, some of your friends who were a little reluctant to take you on because you're the new guy in town and they felt they're more established in that.
Yeah.
They didn't want to stop and maybe take that look in the mirror to truly evaluate maybe where their career is at and see if having new representation would be beneficial to them or not.
Yeah, because I really bust my butt for everybody that's on my roster and everything. And honestly, being with me is like a win-win because I'm not an exclusive agent, which means people, if they get booked on their own, that's totally fine. And they can make all the money and they can do all that. That's great. If I work to get them a gig or get them into a venue, that's the only time I profit from anything. And so if I don't hustle or if I don't get them a gig, then I don't make money, they don't make money. And so what was the harm of me trying to reach out on their behalf to get gigs for them? Well, now, I've signed, or not even really signed. It's like I work with Kevin McDonald from the Kids in the Hall, legendary comedian Bob Nelson, Tom Rhodes, who had Comedy Central specials. He was on MTV all through the 90s and early 2000s. Dennis Regan, Brian Regan's brother. These guys are all solid acts who I send out an email and people are like, yeah, when can they come to town? And I think that helps everybody on my roster. So yeah, there's people that are not at Kevin McDonald's level in the sense of, notoriety, but I tried to represent all different acts that are solid acts. And so by getting the attention through Kevin or Tom Rhodes or whoever, these other acts that are on my roster are also getting attention. So that could have been other people, but whatever.
Well, and the other advantage is you're new, not new to the industry, but your company's new. You're hungry because you want to build a reputation. You want to build a name for yourself. Yeah. But you don't come with the baggage that some of these larger, well-known historical talent agencies have. And I'll give you an example. One thing Adam Carolla used to joke around is because his agent has Jon Stewart, Jimmy Kimmel, bigger names than him, sometimes that agent gets stuck in bigger name mindset. And Adam Carolla will find out what? He'll find out he'll be somewhere and find out, 6 months ago, we reached out to your agent, tried to book you for a gig, but he said, Adam won't roll out of bed for less than X, Y, or Z amount of money. Instead of contact Adam, say, hey, these people want to know if you'll do this gig for this money.
You don't even ask.
No, he don't ask because he's in the Jimmy Kimmel, Jon Stewart mindset, not the Adam Carolla who wants to do everything all the time mindset. Yeah. And so,
well, yeah,
go ahead.
You know that like I was like heavily involved with like Laugh-In Comedy Cafe. Now it's called Snappers up in Fort Myers. But when my friend Brian owned it, I was helping him book acts, and I said, hey, Brian, do you mind if I try to reach out to get some bigger names to come to the club that haven't been here before? And there was one, I'll just tell, I don't even care, like Henry Cho, who's been a mainstay in comedy for years and years and years.
What's that clicking noise?
I reached out to his agent multiple times, and I got no response. And I found Henry's email, and I said, hey, listen, I'm trying to go through your agent to offer you a weekend here in Fort Myers. You've never performed at this club, and I thought it would be cool to bring you to town. But I got to tell you, I said, your agent doesn't respond. And so we booked it through him through Henry, and I'm like, you don't understand. I mean, maybe he does. I mean, he's been around for a while. I'm like, these comedians and other acts, they don't understand that their agents don't respond to people if it's not, like you said, a big money or a big name mentality where they're not gonna get thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for something. They don't even want to respond. Whereas, so my outlook on it, I don't care if it's a small show or a big show. Any offer that comes through for one of my acts, I send it their way. They can say, no, I don't want to do that, or I can't, or blah, blah, blah. And that's fine, but I'm not going to like not do the work because they might want to do it.
And for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with the name, Henry Cho has been around forever. Korean guy, Tennessee accent. He's the one that he'd make fun of his friends, kind of like Fluffy would do. One of his punchlines back in the day, what's that clicking noise? Make fun of his friend.
Yeah.
But A, he's never been to Fort Myers. But B, what a better place to work out new material than Snappers in Fort Myers, Florida, opposed to going down to an Improv, a Laugh-In, one of those places where you're still working out your material, but the audience may not understand you're working out your material and say, wow, I saw Henry Cho here and his act is suffering. No, it's not suffering. He's trying. People don't realize in comedy you have to work out material. You don't just write something in a weekend. Just like a band. Mike's a drummer in a band. You don't just come up with a song while driving down the street and go and perform it next week. And you got to have band practices. You got to figure out what works. Okay, well, let's move the bridge to here. I mean, Larry, you're in a band as well, you know. Let's change the tempo. Let's play around with the arrangements, you know. That chorus sucks, or, you know, that hook kind of needs to be worked on. You work all that thing out, and then you get it smooth. And comedians do the same thing, but they don't do it at their buddy's house in their garage on a Wednesday night. They go to these small clubs that may have open mic night, or maybe aren't sold out on a Wednesday. Perfect example. Here's why, Mike, it pays to have a Larry Venturino in your pocket. Minding my own business one night. He says, you need to come down to the comedy club in 2 hours. What? Can't tell you why. Just come down here. Went down there. Ron White had booked one of the bigger clubs in the weekend, but he hadn't performed in a while. So he reached out to, it was still Laughing at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I got to see Ron White do a warm-up act at a very, very small venue. How cool is fucking that? And so, and I mean, you don't get more intimate than a small venue like that. And so for true diehard fans of, you know, of a comedian or an artist, to see them in that smaller venue, that's like awesome. That's like almost when you hear back in the day, you hear a pop-up show like, oh, John Cougar showed up at this small bar in Jersey, or Sting showed up here and did a small set, you know, without announcing it. And that's the stuff your fans truly enjoy. And that's how you get new fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's talk about your next big step, which is very cool. You and I got in contact back when I was working in radio. I was looking for someone putting on an improv troupe, and you had Kevin McDonald in town, and you guys were doing, and you've done that a few times. With the exception of the venue we just talked about, the big name one down in used to be in Marco, now it's in Naples. And I think maybe there's a small venue up in Port Charlotte. There's not too many comedy clubs in Southwest Florida, right? Like established ones, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, there's basically the three main ones. I don't even mention the one in Naples. I could give a shit. Have Snappers in Fort Myers, and then the one you talked about in Port Charlotte is Bassani's, which is a really beautiful club. Actually, it seats like 250. It's really a beautiful place, and the shows are always really good there too. But so I decided, because I've been touring a lot. I've been on the road a lot and traveling all over the country, and which basically takes up usually Wednesdays through Sunday. And I decided to reach out to a local hotel to see if I could open a comedy club inside their hotel. And I'm actually going to be doing the shows on Monday and Tuesday nights, which might sound crazy to people, but again, it gives me a chance to travel, but also there are visitors that are coming to Estero from all over the world that have nothing to do in this town on a Monday and Tuesday night. They can come downstairs, have something to eat, go into the show, and see like a great comedy show. And so I can bring in different acts, especially if they're like tacking on some Monday and Tuesday off night shows after they've done a weekend somewhere else in Florida. Mm-hmm. So it's just another way for them to kind of come and make some extra money and do my room.
Especially if you're a traveling comic. a road dog, not a well-established. I can afford a plane ticket to fly out overnight, but a road comic, as you said. Maybe they did Orlando one night, they hit Tampa the next night, Sarasota. Hey, I got a Monday or Tuesday to kill. Let's head down to Fort Myers. Or maybe I got a gig in Tampa this weekend. I got a gig in Orlando next weekend, but I sure shit ain't going to drive back to Ohio and then turn back around. So I'm going to go down here, get this hotel. I can perform downstairs, do the Monday and Tuesday night, and then Wednesday make my way up to Orlando or Miami, wherever their next ticket is. And that's just more repetition, and why not? And gives us more, and there's more places for us to go. You can start doing open mic nights occasionally, because I know there's probably a lot of comedians around here. Every once in a while, you might hear of a pop-up open mic night, but I don't know of a well-established one that people know. Oh, there's open nights here every Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah, but and so this is going to be the first and only comedy club in Estero in the whole history of Estero. So
nice. The
Parisians did not have one, as far as I know. So. But yeah, so, and the thing is, like, you might, I don't know if people think it's weird, like if it's in a hotel, but the thing is, there's a lot of clubs on the East Coast that started or continue to be in hotel chains throughout the East Coast. Like, for instance, the Comedy Zone, which is a huge comedy chain all the way up and down the East Coast. Their original club I performed at, it's in Jacksonville, and it's been in a Ramada Inn for 35 years.
Wow.
And it's an amazing room, and it's a lot of fun. Laughing Comedy Cafe, which is now Snappers, that started in a Radisson, I believe, in Fort Myers. They were doing shows in a small hotel banquet hall kind of thing off of 41, and the owner of Groove Street wanted them to bring the club over to them and start a comedy club as well. So that's how that got started. So a lot of these things, and there's a lot of other comedy club chains that are in hotels. And so this is a beautiful hotel in Estero, right off Corkscrew Road, Embassy Suites by Hilton. It's like pretty much like only a few years old. The room is really nice. They can come and eat and drink and do whatever, and then they can. The tickets that I've sold already, there's people coming from all over, like locally, like as far as like Ave Maria, they're coming to some of the shows, but also people are already planning, since they're coming to visit Estero, they're already buying tickets for when they come to stay there.
So you already start. When's your first show?
Next Monday, January 22nd and January 23rd are the first two shows. It's going to be R.C. Smith, who's a great comedian. He's been doing it for 30 years. He was a warm-up act on Rachel Ray, on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Stephen Colbert's show, all those shows. He was doing that for years and years. Vien the Comic Doc. He's also a really great comedian out of like Sarasota area as well, and myself. So I'll host it, and those guys will be the feature and headliners. And it should be a lot of fun.
Here's a topic I wanted to talk to you about while you're on the show. This came out today, and this is right up your alley. And Mike, I'd be interested on your thought on this, because it's going to lead into a next little side topic, even though we're just free farming it. An AI-generated George Carlin act drops. AI-generated George Carlin drops comedy special that daughter speaks out against. No machine will ever replace this genius, which I agree. But here's just a quick synopsis. More than 15 years after his death, stand-up comedian George Carlin has been brought back to life in an artificially intelligent generated special called George Carlin's I'm Glad I'm Dead. The hour-long special, which dropped on Tuesday, comes from Dudsey, a comedy AI that hosts a podcast and YouTube show with Mad TV alumni Will Sasso and podcaster Chad Colkin. Colkin, yeah. Quote, this is George Carlin's daughter. No, I'm sorry, this is the robot, I'm sorry. I just want to let you know very clearly that what you're about to hear is not George Carlin. This is my impression. This is the AI robot. This is my impression of George Carlin that I developed in the exact same way a human impersonator would. the robot claims. I listened to all the George Carlin material and did my best to imitate his voice, cadence, and attitude, as well as the subject matter I think has interested him, that would interest him today. So think of it like an Andy Kaufman impersonating Elvis, or like Will Ferrell impersonating George W. Bush. I'm sorry, that doesn't count. Your computer, you can, I mean, we've seen it with other things. You can recreate someone's voice damn near perfectly.
Yeah.
And my question is, yes, you have this disclaimer at the beginning. And yes, it's quote unquote original material. But how can this legally happen if the estate of George Carlin isn't down for the cause?
Yeah.
You're using his name. You're not saying this is Morge Harlan. You're saying it's an AI generated George Carlin bit. You're using his voice, even though it's a representation of his voice, but it's a dead on voice. And I don't know if there's a video to go along with it, but if there is, and if he has the appearance of George Carlin, then how the hell can this happen?
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, it's like the whole likeness of him, and like if somebody or the family owns the rights to what he does. I mean, like you said, like it's not like somebody who's developed an act as an impersonator, which is also another incredible talent. This is just basically ripping the guy off and trying to make something out of him. You know, that's not really anybody except a computer generating it, you know?
And and obviously it'd be different to see a human try to maintain that character for an hour and a half. They're going to slip a little bit at some point.
Yeah.
This is, once again, a computer generated, and I guarantee you if you didn't put the disclaimer on there, or you lift a 15-minute segment and put it out on YouTube and list it as newly discovered George Carlin footage, people are going to buy it because it sounds like it.
Because you know what? That's probably already happened.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know how people are, where they just take other people's content and they repost it. Now, you see that online, you just chop it up a little bit, and you're posting it on now your TikTok. Oh, here's George Carlin. And those people don't care. You know what I mean? So it's basically, that's already happened. Because you gave that to the world, now people are going to splice it up and put it as their own content on their site.
Yeah, here's a perfect example of that. Go ahead, Mike. I stepped on you. Go ahead.
I personally think that there's no way that we can really get around that either. There's so many variables, and because I think that AI has such a loophole in it that they're able to get around so many things. Yes, it's George Carlin. Yes, it's a comedy special. Yes, it's emulating what he did, but it's not actually him. It's not stealing him as an individual or his character or his personality or anything really like that.
Tell that to Gallagher's brother.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was something generated based on, years of history of his life.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's something that, yes, you can say I don't condone this and I don't agree with it, but what is there to really do?
Yeah. That's the world.
That's the world for now. But once somebody with power and true money gets this happen to them, things will change. I'm an IT guy. We hear stories all the time. These big companies getting hacked. These big companies, blah, blah, blah. Rockstar gets hacked. This hacker group leaks out a bunch of Grand Theft Auto 6 shit. 2 days later, the FBI tracked it down and shut them down because Rockstar has money, Rockstar has clout, and they got shit done. So, yeah, maybe George Carlin's daughter doesn't have the power and the finances, but once somebody's material gets lifted like this, I don't know, at some point something's going to have to be done. I mean, we already saw during that writer's strike.
Yeah.
One of the concerns now is, well, we're just going to have AI generate scripts now. What do we need writers for?
Yeah.
And we're going to have AI generate computer graphics. What are we going to need actors for?
Yeah.
But you're a comedian. As a comedian, you're a writer. Mike, you're in a band. As a musician, you're a songwriter. All that comes from the human experience. All that comes from a story, a voice. I mean, you hear it all the time. It took me so long before I found my voice in comedy, or it took me so long before I found my voice in music, or it took me so long before I found, we're not saying a musician's singing voice, but the voice that represents them. Kind of like you like a writer, you might like this writer because their voice and their writing. And I think that artificial voice is going to be there, whether or not people realize it at first. Back to your whole point about stuff already happening. For those of you on TikTok, you're watching a video and there's Joe Rogan and then it cuts to some weirdo you never seen and they just happen to have a maroon sheet behind them. That doesn't mean they're on the Joe Rogan podcast. It means they cut a clip, cut to them in front of a red shower curtain. And you used to see it on TV all the time. You would see these infomercial ads where they look like they're on like a Fox News studio or a CNN studio, and they're talking about reverse mortgages and shit and how it's, or whatever it may be. They put up fake news commercials. Well, these guys are doing the same thing on TikTok. They make it, I'm going to sell my version of this non-snoring apparatus. I'm going to make it look like I was being interviewed by Joe Rogan when he's talking about a non-snoring apparatus from a completely different company. I'm going to sell my knockoff version by putting a maroon curtain behind me and make it look like I'm at his set. And so you see it all the time.
Here's another thing that you can look at, though, too. Joe Rogan has the Joe Rogan AI Experience podcast, where it basically is an entire show for about a half an hour of AI Joe and some random guest that he picks, and an entire conversation goes on between the two. Yes, there's disclaimers, obviously, at the beginning. This is not real, blah, 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 blah. But how long until that AI guest, the real person, turns around and says, hey, I never gave you permission to use me on any kind of show.
Good point.
I never, once agreed to my name being used or anything like that. So that's kind of the same situation we're talking about with George Carlin as well. But unfortunately, George isn't here anymore to be able to really defend himself.
No, and I just had this thought. Maybe his family can take the... Oh, I can't believe I just completely went blank. I had the female comedian who used to date Jimmy Kimmel.
Sarah Silverman?
Maybe they can go the Sarah Silverman route. She just sued OpenAI because she found out that they used her book to study to build their database. Well, in this opening monologue, it said, I listened to all of George Carlin's material and did my best to imitate his voice, cadence, and attitude. So maybe the family can go and sue them for unlawful use of their father's material for their source material for their programming. Because, and not only Sarah Silverman did that, but I think either Washington Post or another big company's doing that, because what they had discovered is AI went around their paywall, indexes all their paid to read stories, and then people figured out you can go on there and ask ChatGPT about the story, and it'll verbatim basically read to you the Washington Post article that's behind a paywall, thus circumnavigating the paywall. And so, all these things are coming out, and now we're playing catch up.
Well, you know what? When I got married, I'm divorced, but when I got married in Vegas by Elvis at the Graceland Wedding Chapel. And now in Las Vegas, you can't get married by Elvis because the estate for Elvis will no longer allow that to happen. So, and then those are real people that they're stopping. Maybe I guess that's easier than stopping a computer, but they're getting rid of the likeness being used around in Vegas of him. So,
well, the good news is the Mickey Mouse form from 1920 known as Steamboat Willie is now public domain. So now you can go to Vegas and get married by Steamboat Willie.
That's next, maybe. That's if I ever get married again.
The interesting thing behind that, though, is that yes, AI at the moment has the ability to kind of do its own thing, but there is still the human factor. Somebody still created it. Somebody is still programming it. Somebody is still coding it. Yeah,
and all those people need to be put on a list so when the shit hits the fan 20 years from now, we know who to hold responsible.
Yeah.
So that John Connor can come track it down. Similar story, but completely crazier. I'm so glad I was born in 1978. I'm so glad I grew up when I did. It's interesting, especially being an IT guy. Sometimes I feel guilty being part of this insanity. I think the pandemic streamlined it. More and more people staying at home. More and more people trying to find new ways to live their life, which is ironic because like 15 years ago, what was that? New Life or Life 2, that that video game, that Second Life, was they tried to make it a thing and it never really happened. And now we have Meta, right? Meta is trying to do their world. This apparently happened a year ago and it's happened again, and now the police are acting to get involved. But I have so many questions. This story is going to be a little weird at first, but I'm going to bring it around, I promise. Hold on to your stool there, Larry.
Okay.
UK police probe virtual gang rape of a girl's avatar in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have so many questions without even reading the story. There have been several reports of virtual sex crimes in the Horizon World, a free VR game operated by Meta, the New York Post reports. UK police are investigating the unprecedented case of alleged gang rape of a girl's avatar in a virtual reality game, according to the Daily Mail, making a notable case within the metaverse. The report victim, a minor, was using a virtual reality headset in an immersive game where her animated avatar was subjected to virtual assault by avatars of several men. I've looked at a few stories, listened to a few videos. No one's explaining what these virtual assault entailed. After all, the metaverse are rudimentary cartoons at best. I mean, they look like modern day Weeble Wobbles. I mean, they have no, like, it's not like you're on Grand Theft Auto where you're at the strip club and these are really rudimentary. But even that, no one is defining what the person saw, if they saw anything, because once again, this is a metaverse. I guess my first question is, did Facebook program rape into their avatars? I'm going to probably say no. So I don't think there was a visual representation of them holding her down and doing horrible shit. So what, did they just bump their cartoons into her nonstop and say horrible shit?
Yeah.
And if they did say horrible shit, enough, I don't know, I guess what confuses me is, what do they consider digital rape?
I wonder if it's going to be considered as just like a form of bullying or something like that, where you're, online, that people, I guess, know. I know that you said that, the avatars don't really look exactly like people, but like at the same time, if they can kind of identify that this person is who they were doing this to, maybe they're trying to hone in on, like, this is kind of like almost a bullying mentality of trying to ruin this girl's name or whoever.
Or even along the lines of like harassment or something.
Yes, but harassment and bullying are over here. Rape is way the fuck down here. How does someone get digitally raped? Obviously there's no physical contact.
I mean, I don't know.
See, here's why I bring this up. If we say, okay, clearly there wasn't a visual aspect to it because it wasn't programmed into the software. It's not like they were able to force horrible porn shit, or maybe they were, no one's talking about it. My number one question, what did she visually see or what did she hear? If it comes down to just 5 assholes saying grotesque shit to her, fine, that's a community guideline issue. That's bullying and harassing, but is that rape? Because if that is, we're now applying physical rape potential real life penalties to verbal interaction, which then becomes a huge free speech thing.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to say that verbally saying, hey, Larry, I'm holding your head down and forcing you to perform oral on me right now. How is that different than someone in a chat room on Call of Duty saying, man, I just fucking shot you in the back of the head?
Yeah.
Okay, now are we going to bring you up on digital murder charges?
Or how is that any different than 25 years ago when we were playing Halo and we were teabagging other teammates or other people and saying, oh, dude, you just got raped?
Yeah, now we can pull Me Too. I mean, people are getting canceled for shit they tweeted 25 years ago. Imagine the amount of people being brought up on digital rape charges for teabagging people on Halo in the first 3 versions of Call of Duty.
Right.
And so to me, I'm more concerned with the fact that people are like, okay, United Kingdom, you guys can't investigate this. You have real physical rapes that you're backlogged on. Apparently rape is so big in United Kingdom that people are more worried that they're going to take time investigating real physical rape and dedicate it to this digital stuff. But to me, my bigger concern is what is the definition? Once again, if you just have 3 photos bouncing in each other, okay, I would hope that Facebook didn't program visual sexual acts into their software. To me, I'm concerned it's going to become a free speech issue.
Yeah.
And where does it stop? I mean, yes, cyberbullying's a huge issue. Here's a question for you. Obviously, people can lie. They can create sub-accounts and other accounts. But why isn't none of these platforms... Well, I mean, I know why, because of money. But couldn't some of this stuff be minimized by actual age verification? You're a 13-year-old on Xbox, we're not going to put you on a server with a bunch of 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Keep the squeakers on a server by themselves. Ain't going to hurt my feelings. I get tired of hearing their fucking voices.
The technology is definitely there these days to be able to weed out that.
I mean, most platforms now, unless you have a business page like Larry Venturino comedy at Facebook.com, Facebook won't allow you to have made up names. Like when Facebook first came out, you could be, Johnny Redbeard, and now sorry Johnny Redbeard, now you could come out your name. My name's Jim Borton, and they got rid of the nicknames. Everything has to be age verified. Once again, yes, there's going to be ways around it for those people who truly want to get around it, but you can still minimize 40% of the shit by just age verification. Hey, you're fucking on TikTok, you're 13. We're not going to post your videos on the timeline of a 30-year-old. 30-year-olds. Yeah. I swear to God, during the pandemic, near the end of it, when TikTok was growing, I felt like somebody was hijacking my TikTok. Because I'd go through my timeline, and I'm like seeing videos of like 10-year-olds and 15-year-old kids, and I'm like, and I'm subscribed to their shit. And I'd have to go and I'm like, is TikTok giving out free likes and follows? Because there's no way in hell I would, A, watch their content to begin with, and B, fucking follow them. And that happened for like 6 months. I was going through and unfollowing like young kids. It's like, why the fuck, if we truly want to crack down on this stuff, I don't need to see a fucking 14-year-old's content on my timeline. I'm 45. I'm not interested in anything they have to fucking say. So why not segregate some of that stuff by age? It's definitely could be done. I mean, yeah, sure, every once in a while somebody's going to go through the hassle. I'm 14. I'm going to make a profile saying I'm 28. That shit's going to happen, but you can at least minimize it to protect the kids until they get to the dickhead stage where they're going to fucking thwart it.
Yeah.
We can slow down the corruption some. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of the stuff out there, we're just not truly trying because we don't want to cut down on that expendable revenue.
No.
Larry, is your type, just to kind of bring it back to comedy, is your type of comedy, I guess,
blue,
more on the cleaner side or more on the raunchy side?
Let me answer this as somebody who's seen your act like 4 times.
Yeah, I'm curious what you have to say about this, Dan.
Larry, I don't want to say mask. He layers his subject matter in a way where you're thinking you're seeing not blue. What? Okay, blue's bad. We'll say the opposite of blue would be red. Even though that doesn't make sense. You think you're seeing a PG-13 comic?
Yeah.
And for the most part he is, but then he'll build up the zinger about his parents disguising the fact that when they fuck, they call it going to. It's so funny because before I saw your act on that, I was throwing that word. God, I'm getting old. What city was it?
Sheboygan.
Yeah, Sheboygan. So he would mask the fact that his parents, whenever they would get down, they're talking about going to Sheboygan.
Yeah.
And then, and kind of in the styles of the aforementioned Gallagher, don't take this as the wrong way. See, Gallagher's gotten a bad rap. People hear Gallagher, especially young kids never seen him. They think, oh, he's a guy who smashed watermelons for an hour and a half. No, Gallagher fucking did an hour and a half of straight up comedy, and then he'd pull the props out for the last 15, 20 minutes. I grew up in Kentucky and Ohio. My parents were introduced to Gallagher by my dad's sister in Indiana. They actually went to some of the live shows. So I was watching Gallagher stand-up act as a kid, and he had an hour and a half worth of just normal stand-up material. Yeah, he had his theme, and he had his voice, but the watermelons and the trampolines, and that shit didn't come out until like the last 20 minutes of his show. And Larry's very similar. He has a bit. He has stand-up comedy. But to answer your question, Mike, you can't say he's not blue because he has he brings up an audience member, blindfolds him, and they play a fun game called, is this a sex toy or a dog toy? And so you can't be super clean when you got sex toys on stage.
But he
does it in a way where you don't have to be embarrassed if your 15-year-old sitting next to you.
Yeah, because you know what? I don't say any bad words throughout the whole game. And it's like maybe there's some innuendo or blah, blah, blah. Sometimes the contestants say a lot worse than I even say during the game. And so, so I think that's a good assessment of my show. I don't use a lot of vulgar words at all during my set. I might talk about things that when you think about it for a second, you're like, wow, that's vulgar. But I never said any bad word. And it's like, but when I'm in a club, if it's rolling well and stuff like that, I might swear a little bit more than normal. But I never use vulgar, like graphic words. And so, but the innuendo sometimes is very, very deep. No pun intended.
Right.
So, and just kind of like flip it, because I think I want my material to be something that you have to think about a little bit. But I don't want to just get on stage and just like try to say dirty words and try to be edgy or whatever. I try to like challenge myself to write, kind of thought-provoking things that people find funny. And I'm talking about topics too that are sometimes pretty heavy, but I'm doing it in a way that is not vulgar. So yeah, you're 15-year-old sitting there. I haven't really said anything bad.
Right.
You're thinking it, but I haven't said it really.
Right.
And sometimes, kind of like what Quentin Tarantino said, one people's biggest complaint about Reservoir Dogs is when they're showing the scene, they go to cut the cop's ear off, the camera pans away.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino said the camera pans away because there's nothing I could have written in that moment that would have been more horrifying than what you can think up in your mind.
Yeah.
And so Larry's thing is, don't only put words in your mouth, but what I kind of get the way you form it is, I'm going to present the item, I'll put some innuendo in there, but whatever your perverted ass thing, what you can do with that item, that's up to you. And I'll let you take it as far as you and your wife want to take it in your own minds without having to put it out there.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you understanding what I'm doing. I think a lot of people understand that, but there's definitely a lot of people that don't understand what I'm trying to do. So I appreciate that assessment because that's what I'm going for sure.
Well, I'm working on a few premises I might send your way and see if you can help me punch them up, because I've been threatened for like the last 6 years to do open mic night. And that's something I still want to do, but I want to have at least 2 minutes put together before I get up there and make a complete ass of myself.
Yeah.
And so I've been writing some stuff from time to time. I'll send you the premise and you can tell me it sucks or help me punch it up, and maybe one night I can work it out somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds good.
But I think we definitely need more comedy clubs down here, especially for to bring the entertainment down here. Especially Estero is such a nice drive. So we're definitely looking forward to that.
Cool.
I don't know, maybe because I work in computers and all this AI stuff is just, I don't know. It's driving me crazy with how much it's being utilized and how much more we're taking the human element out of fucking everything.
Yeah.
So,
my comedy club is not even real. It's actually all AI generated. We don't even have to go anywhere.
damn it. Damn it. Actually, didn't somebody do that during the pandemic? I know. Who the hell?
It was virtual shows,
Yeah.
but not. Yeah.
I don't know if. I can't remember who the hell it was.
A lot of people were doing that. There were musicians that were doing that. Bands were playing like virtual concerts.
But no, there was actually, I can't remember who the fuck it was. There was actually a comedian. He did a metaverse stand-up act. He said he put on the goggles and you could see the faces of everybody like at home on their webcams out in the virtual audience. And so he could actually see people laugh. Of course, there's a little buffering, which kind of throws you off. But he actually, he straight up, not only did he did a straight up virtual fucking comedy act. I can't remember who the hell it was, but the good news is that the AI can definitely help you come up with some ideas. And yes, it's a little hypocritical. I'm sitting around on AI, but I use it for podcast episode descriptions, primarily because of my learning disability and my horrible grammar. I'll actually write out what I want it to say, and then I'll go to ChatGPT and say, please rewrite this as a YouTube video description or a podcast, and I'll put in the paragraph that I pre-wrote, and it recalibrates it. But what I find, and I tried to work around this, is it puts in younger cat verbiage and like real flowery fucking adjectives, and actually I said, please rewrite this in my voice, a Gen Xer. But then it started putting in a lot of dudes, and I was like, no, I had to delete all that shit out of there. And so I still go back and like delete all the colorful language, because you read that and you're like, that's not the way this guy writes. And so I use it primarily for structure. And where it really comes in great is I'll like generate hashtags separated by commas, and it just spits me out 3 paragraphs of hashtags, and I can just paste them in there quickly instead of trying Cape Coral bass fishing, kayak, or whatever I'm doing. And so I will use it, especially for What's the Scuttlebutt, because we have a lot of historical based content. I will use it to rewrite my episode descriptions, so I know the grammar and all that's there. And I've done it on my YouTube videos. Real quick, for those of you watching, Mike kind of questioned me too. You're like, Don, why are you putting up so many goddamn shorts on YouTube?
It's annoying.
It's annoying.
They work.
Yeah, that's where the algorithm's at.
Apparently.
Sunday, I edited my best catches of 2023 fishing video. Put it up. I got 11 views. I take a TikTok that I recorded 2 years ago, put it up. In 2 hours, I got 2,500 views. And it's not because of the content. It's because that's where YouTube's putting all the algorithm.
Yeah.
If people don't have reminders set on and they're just hoping that the shit shows up in your timeline because they subscribe to you, chances are, unless they've watched every single one of your videos, it's not going to show up because they're pushing the shorts. They're trying to compete with TikTok.
Well, the frustrating thing for me is because I watch YouTube on my regular TV, and when I pull it up and I go to my subscriptions, all I see is nothing but shorts.
Mm-hmm. I do the same thing. I watch a lot of.
If I want to watch, a long form video, I got to scroll through all this shit to get to it. And if they could update, the apps on the TVs or whatnot of, here's your long form videos. If you want to watch shorts, here's your shorts. It wouldn't aggravate me as bad. But as soon as I turn it on, it's like, damn it, Don just put 50 fucking shorts up there. And I put 3 a day. I got to find the one video in between 500 of them that I want to watch.
Well, to give you the perfect example, I'll go to my YouTube right now. I've gotten more subscribers just from putting up shorts.
Believe it or not, so have I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Off of one short video that I posted, got 2,500 views. I'm up 6 subscribers just off of one video.
Let's see, analytics right here. Wait for it to refresh. Come on. In the last 28 days, 55 subscribers. Like, well, that's not a lot. Really? That's 511% higher than normal.
Yeah.
Sure.
Last 28 days, my views. I've had 58,000 views in the last 28 days because I started putting up shorts. My revenue's gone up. We're 14 days into this month. I'm $2 off of matching last month's revenue for an entire month. But back to what I was saying. Regular content overview videos, and I still put the videos out, but it's like if you want people to, and I'm hoping what'll happen to the people who subscribe watching my shorts will watch my long format stuff. And the other thing we're going to do, speaking of formats, is I'm going to take these 2-hour videos of podcasts, cut them down into 1-2 minute clips, put them up there, hoping that people will track down the full view. But and it kind of sucks though. It's like you put the energy and effort into recording videos and content, and because YouTube wants to try to compete with TikTok. I mean, that fishing video I put up yesterday, 13 views. But once again, I put up a short. Let's see, I put up a short. Yesterday.
And those 13 views were me and 12 other of your friends.
Yeah. Here's shorts: 512, 426, 2,552, 1,321, 2,422. Yeah. It's like you're forced to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say once you get monetized, the money's so much better in TikTok. I think off that video that I had 1.7 million views, I made, before they took their 60%, I think I made $70 off of. Off of a 1.4 million views. Whereas on YouTube, you get a video, just to extrapolate it. I got this video that I put out 5 years ago. I was working at computers. I accidentally got overzealous and I scratched off the key code on a Microsoft key code. It was on a cardboard box. And what I discovered is I could call Microsoft's billing, give them the serial number on the card, and they can give me the key code. So I just posted that for other IT guys. Somehow it ended up on a forum, and ended up on Reddit. It ended up somewhere. And people started using this theory.
With Fargo, the new
theory for other types of...
virtual assistant from
I hit
Wells
pause.
Fargo.
Shut up. Theory on other types of cards, whether Roblox is a big one, Xbox. I put this video out 5 years ago. I didn't get monetized until last June. This video has 144,000 fucking views. I wish I was monetized 4 years ago because I could have made a tremendous amount of money off this video. But just to extrapolate it and put it in perspective, TikTok had a video, 1.7 million views, made like $60 over, a couple months. This one stupid video that from doing the Microsoft stuff, just in the last 28 days, this, which is not a tremendous amount of money, but compared to the amount of money that a 1.7 million view video got, I'm trying to get back to that page. Come on, go back. YouTube Studio, you're garbage. That video has made $19 in the last 28 days on YouTube. That's nowhere near 1.7 million. I mean, and that video hasn't gotten, it's in the last 28 days, it's gotten 5,000 views. Made $19. Imagine if TikTok would have paid me that same revenue on that video that got 1.7 million views. I would have made pretty decent money, but they don't. And I even left the TikToker Creator Fund. There's no money in that. Problem with TikTok now is it's turning to the goddamn home shopping network. You can't watch a single video without some asshole trying to sell you something in their TikTok shop.
Yep.
But the easiest way around that is just go watch your following page instead of the For You page, because then you actually go back and watch the people's content you chose to follow back in the day.
Yeah.
I think more and more people need to start doing that. Mike, what's it like to get married in fucking super expensive times?
Humbling.
Yeah.
And stress beyond what I thought stress really was.
It's so goddamn unfair. and I don't mean that just in marriage. I just mean, look, all of us, you're maybe what? How old are you, Mike?
31.
Okay, so you're 10, 11 years younger than me. Larry, how old are you?
45.
Okay, you and I are the same exact age. We were told if we worked hard, went to school, made decent living, we could have a nice life. You know, Larry, in order for us to have the same quality of life our parents had when we were in high school, when they were only making $32,000 a year, I just saw this on a video of the finance guy. In order to match the quality of life that our parents had if they only made $32,000 in 1996, you and I would have to make $136,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's how much inflation is. It's like the money I'm making now, if I was making fucking just 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I would have a substantial different fucking life. But because how expensive and how inflated everything is, I could... Mike, if you're buying this wedding 10 years ago, it would be a completely different wedding. And it's so goddamn insane. It's so unfair. And then when you see these politicians on both sides saying, oh, we're turning everything around. The fuck you are for who? It's just so gross.
Yeah. If I was making 10, 15 years ago what I'm making now, my life would be completely different.
Mm-hmm. Completely
different. And that's only 10, 15 years.
So I was discussing earlier about how everybody's calling me fat and out of weight. So it's one of the things I came right the following Monday from Mike's bachelor party. And I've mentioned this before. For like the last year or so, I would just go grab a sweatshirt in my book bag and pull up a chunk of tile, and I would sleep for 45 minutes on the tile floor in one of the offices at my work. Get a nice little cat nap, come back. It kind of divided my day up in half. Now I don't feel like I'm working 8 hours. I'm a little rejuvenated. Then Monday I came back. I went to go to sleep. I was like, fuck this fat ass. I have walked 2.5 miles every day at lunch since November.
Good.
And I've cut out all the, and then I come home and I'll run 3 miles since the 72 miles in 15 days. But not only that, I stopped ordering the Grubhub candy and this and that, and I'm drinking sugarless iced tea right now. I'm cutting down my soda. Don't look at the goddamn scale because that fucker said I've gained 3 pounds. It's got to be on muscle mass. But I say all that to, when I do get hungry, I'll walk to the Wendy's and I'll get just a double cheeseburger, no bun. So it's just 2 pieces of meat, cheese, onion, pickle, lettuce, tomato. Pretty much protein, very little carbs. And I'm like, fuck it. You know what? I'll get a medium lemonade. I've had nothing to drink all day except for black coffee with no sugar and water since 6 o'clock this morning. So I can live off the 300 calories in this lemonade because I'm not going to eat anything until I get home. Well, today it rained and I had to go get my hair cut and things for the wedding. And so I stopped through Wendy's after I picked up a drink somewhere else, and I just got the cheeseburger. Now, every day I was going through, not every day, but maybe twice a week, get the cheeseburger and the lemonade. Not a combo meal, just the cheeseburger. $12. Somebody I used to work at Wendy's in the 90s, I'm like, God damn, it's a lot of money. But here's what I bring a point. I went through today and just got the cheeseburger. She's like, $7. I was like, how much is that fucking lemonade? $4 for a goddamn large lemonade. I said, mental note, next time, don't get the goddamn lemonade. I would think it was like $2. No. I was like, wow, things $4 for a goddamn lemonade now. Yep. So there's a more indication of inflation. Something's got to give before too long. I don't know. Something's got to give.
Nope.
Are things getting better in the clubs as far as people being less offended? Because we all know that 18, 19, 20, 21, things are getting crazy. Hell, even Seinfeld said, I'm not playing colleges anymore. Have you noticed a difference in less groans and moans when other comics that you open for, or you're in the wings, when they get a little blue? Are you starting to hear less moans, or is it staying about the same?
No, I've seen like people seem to be, I'm not going to say over it, but like the people that are going out to the clubs, they seem to be into it. I do a lot of theaters, a lot of community theaters and stuff like that, where people understand what's happening and they go to see a show and they want to laugh and have a good time. So I'm doing a lot of those shows and people are just great. You're going to, like, you know, where I've been performing, different places. I just come back from Phoenix, and that crowd was really awesome. Like, never like they moan and groan about different things because they think they have to, but at the end of the day, they're just having a good time. It's just like people feel that they have to like grunt or oh my god, you can't say that just to wash their hands of it. But at the end of the day, they're enjoying the shows, I think, and not as uptight. But who knows? That's just my feeling.
Where's your favorite city to play?
I don't know. I was just asked this the other day. It was a very tough question. Nashville was unbelievable. Performing in Nashville was a lot of fun. First of all, it was a great city. I hate country music, but like the whole town is really fun and there's a lot to do. And I performed at Zany's, which is like a famous club there, and that was just a killer night. It was just unbelievable. So much fun.
I saw your photo. I was like, as a fucking Larry pulled out his dog toys at Zany's. How awesome is that?
Yeah,
that's a huge club. I mean, big people perform at Zany's.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very honored to be able to perform there, and it was one of my best sets. I did really well that night, and the game went really, really well. I love the New England area. I actually, not last summer, but the summer before, I did like a New England tour because I'm from Rhode Island. My Rhode Island show was a lot of fun. It was really great. I did a couple shows in Boston. Boston seemed uptight about certain things. To answer your other question, nowhere else have I really seen that over the last few years. Like you could feel it in Boston for some reason. That you weren't supposed to say certain things a little bit, but that was a couple years ago now. I don't know.
And that's kind of sad because Boston was like in the 80s and 90s, Boston was one of the hubs for comedy. So many guys came out of Boston.
Yeah. And, historically, you think about sports, like, it's supposed to be this progressive city. It's supposed to be this, like, whatever they call it now. I don't know. Whatever. But that whole city, sports related, was a pretty racist town.
Yep.
I'm a big New England sports fan. Like I love the Red Sox. My favorite player of all time was a guy named Jim Rice, and he was shit on for years by the crowd. He's a Hall of Famer. He was just like shit on by in the things I heard as a little kid in the stands, just like demeaning towards him and everything. And this is supposed to be this progressive, town. And remember, the Red Sox were the last Major League Baseball team to sign a black player after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, and I think it was like 9 or 10 years later. So now it's like even like if people from Boston see this podcast, they're probably gonna be whatever, but I really don't care. Like even some of the comedians and the bands that I worked with in the past, so like condescending, elitist, whatever.
Yeah.
And whole attitude, and like I don't really love working with some of the comics from there. Just like everyone thinks that they're better than everyone else from everywhere else. The crowd, I guess, was okay in Boston. It was like I had fun, but it just seemed like some of the things I said weren't supposed to be allowed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even bad,
Yeah, this is coming from your routine. It's not like you're pulling up old Andrew Dice Clay jokes.
No, and I'm not like political or anything else like that, but it's just like I don't know, whatever. It's just like a different. It just seemed like a different vibe. It could have been the night. It could have been, I did. I don't know, whatever it was, but I did have fun, but I just like noticeably saw like a difference there. But I would say Nashville is a lot of fun. I've done Los Angeles, and it's been a lot of fun. Like, I don't know, just like Jacksonville, Florida, did that a couple months ago. Had one of the greatest shows I've ever done. Followed by the same night having one of the worst shows I've ever done, because that happens in comedy. So it's like I felt it was awesome. The first show was awesome, and the second show was whatever. But they just weren't really into me. But yeah, it just really depends. In Florida, there's so many different scenes and different cities and different vibes and all these different towns that you can you go somewhere completely different every weekend, and I just love challenging myself and performing wherever they will let me. So, you know, but Nashville.
Nashville.
That was the cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Tennessee in itself is great. Anyhow, that's like one of the places we fantasize about moving to one day in the future. But Larry, I want to thank you for coming on. Where can people find information about your venue, your shows coming up, whether it's your particular act or the acts coming to your new comedy club? Where can people find that information?
Yeah. So the new comedy club, again, the only comedy club in Estero, Florida. It's called Venturino's Comedy Club. So Venturino's with an S, comedyclub.com for all the upcoming shows. You can buy tickets and get some more information. Venturino Talent is my talent agency, and then LarryVenturino.com has all my upcoming shows all around the country. I'm going to be in South Carolina, North Carolina. I'm going to be in New England, New York, all over Florida, and all over the place in the next few months. So I hope you check it out if you're in the area.
Yeah, definitely.
And I appreciate having me back on here. I love coming on with you guys. So thank you.
Anytime. And for myself and Mike, this was a quick put together episode. We're going to continue putting these out maybe once a month. We're going to find our voice a little bit on here, but we're changing things up. We want to say thanks to everyone who's been hanging out with us for the last 5 years. And if you haven't done so, please head over to what'sinyourhead.com or d-410.com and click on that Patreon link, sign up and subscribe. It goes a long way to help cover the bills over the month. Because as Larry can tell you, web hosting ain't cheap. Neither are domain names. And so that goes a long way to help cover the small overhead we do have. But for myself, Mike, and Larry, thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you next episode.
This has been a Digital 410 production.